give it a listen, see what you think. And again, thanks for watching. Don't forget that subscribe button lurking down there. It's calling you. Okay, it will do you no harm. Back in the early 70s, when I first got obsessed with synthesizers, it boiled down to basically three choices. It was, and one of them wasn't really practical because there was the British Putney. And I was fascinated by that thing. I still am. I don't think they had a distributor in the United States at that time, and it wasn't practical. Sure, the other two choices were the Mini Moog and the ARP Odyssey. And I wrote to both companies for literature, and I studied all those, but especially the Odyssey and the Mini Moog. And it boiled down, that was my choice. Which am I going to buy, the Mini Moog or the Odyssey? And the Odyssey actually had a few more bells and whistles than the Mini Moog. It had sample and hold and a high-pass filter, and kind of a crude ring modulator. But I finally decided on the Mini Moog because it had three oscillators as opposed to two, even though that third oscillator is mostly used for an LFO, which the Odyssey did have. I don't know. I like the wood. I don't regret my choice. I've had this Mini Moog for 53 years now. And there it is. It's the grandfather. He's doing well. I woke him up. Come on, grandfather. We're going to do a video. This has been a marvelous instrument. But the thing about it is that both the Mini Moog and the Odyssey became classic instruments. And both of them are being manufactured today. The instruments were such classics that ARP made. But now there's a new addition. Cherry Audio has created a virtual Odyssey, the ODC 2800. And they got Mark Barton, who is a wizard, an alchemist. His emulations are always spot on. He did the GX80, the Miniverse. He did the rack mode. He did the 900 series modules, the ARP 2500 modules for voltage modular. He did a bunch. I'm probably forgetting. I think he might have done the 2600 as well. But anyway, he gets the waveforms and the filters, nails it. So you've got an exact virtual copy. The ARP Odyssey was very popular, and it stayed in production from 1972, I think, till 78 or 79. I remember I was still working at Guitar Center when the black and orange models came out. I thought that was a kind of a spiffy look. But one of the cool things that Mark Barton did for this plugin is that he emulated all three major models that they did. They did a Mark I, Mark II, and Mark III. And they all had different characteristics. The Mark I, the first one was the one with the white face. And it had a two-pole filter, which sounded kind of thin, but it also did some magical stuff. And it could be overdriven, and it's a good iteration to use when you're looking for the ultra gnarly stuff. When they did the Mark II Odyssey, they changed to the black and gold color scheme, and they changed the filter to a four-pole ladder filter, which prompted Moog to send them a sternly worded letter that said, did you know we have that filter patented? They didn't actually sue ARP. That's an urban legend. But ARP realized that they were, they needed to change that so they're not infringing on someone else's patent. And in the Mark III, they kept a four-pole filter, but in a way that wouldn't interfere with Moog's patented version. And along the way, each Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, they all had little improvements. The oscillators got more stable, and besides the cosmetic things, they changed it. But all three versions are available in this VST, in this virtual instrument. And it's cool because you can click between them. You can, and if you like the way one looks, you can even lock that in while keeping the filter from the other. But it's very cool. And then you can, once you've got that, you can do the what if, and you can do things that you really wouldn't be practical with a hardware instrument. And one of the big what ifs that Cherry Audio has done is like, what if it was polyphonic? How about 16 voices? How about a 16 voice Odyssey? Okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. How about one with all kinds of touch sensitivity, velocity, and polyphonic aftertouch? Yeah, that sounds good. How about if it had 3 oscillators? Now it's like a 2600. How about 2 LFOs instead of 1? On and on. What if it had 4 stomp boxes for effects? You know, because why should guitar players have all the fun? And that kind of what if thinking went into making this plugin, and you've got all the characteristics. It doesn't interfere with the recreation of the original sound in the slightest, because if you want, you can not use those extra capabilities. You can just have it set up for monophonic. You can, well, you're going to have to use the improved envelope generators, but you get the point, is that you can play it monophonically, you can skip the effects, you don't have to use the bells and whistles, you don't have to use the arpeggiator, and you can just use it the way a hardware Odyssey would be. Or you can use it with all the extra bells and whistles that Cherry Audio has put into it. And for me, I think that's what, you know, beyond the price, that's what makes these virtual instruments so much fun, because you can play that what-if game that just wouldn't be practical in a hardware instrument. And it especially never would have happened with a vintage instrument, because, you know, when the Odyssey and the Mini Moog were the only choices, there were no such thing as a polyphonic synthesizer. So there it is. I'm going to leave the full review and feature walkthrough to the guys that do a good job of that. They'll be all over YouTube today, and I'll be watching their videos as well, because I'm sure I'll learn things that I haven't touched on. But I had fun working with this, and I did a couple of jams, and then I'll put the others in separate videos. So give it a listen, see what you think. Thanks for watching. Don't forget that subscribe button lurking down there. It's calling you, okay? It will do you no harm. All right, that's enough. Shut up. Grandfather, give a listen to the Odyssey. It's well good, isn't it? All right, about knocked him off the roads here. All right, give it a listen.